Today, on Mission Neo Geo, we embark upon a great journey down the rabbit hole into another sporting event that every man, woman, and child has grown up to be the most competitive in. To dodge, to dash, to jump, to dive, to sacrifice your very body for the sake of your own team, your teammate. Today, we discuss Super Dodgeball, one of the most impactful games known to every man, woman, and child on the planet. Have you, yourself, been in such an intense game? The very impact of a dodgeball hitting your very flesh, the impact, the pain of a bruise deep within your soul. But yet, you survive. You reach down deep, you dig within the very depths of your belly to continue to try on, hoping that your very teammate might catch the ball once again so you may embark again on that great battlefield of the dodgeball court. Today on Mission Neo Geo, we will discuss Super Dodgeball on the Neo Geo MVS. However, there is a caveat here. Ness has not purchased the MVS version. He has purchased a conversion, but we will play this AES conversion and I will grade it with a Tiberius rating. Today on Mission Neo Geo. Wow. Okay, Tiberius, coming in with a dramatic intro. What it is, it's your guy Retro Neo Ness back again with another Mission Neo Geo video. And today we are talking about Super Dodgeball. And it was produced by Technos Japan Corporation on the Neo Geo in 1996. So this actually happens to be one of Technos' last games that was produced on the Neo Geo, as they were going through a bankruptcy at the time, and this particular version got a limited US release and was only released on the Neo Geo MVS. We only saw this game in the arcade on MVS cabinets. Now this did get a PC release, but other than that, for this particular game, that was it in terms of releases. Now, this is not to get confused with the Nintendo Entertainment System game called Super Dodgeball, and well, Super Dodgeball on the Nintendo was released also by Technos, but it was many years prior. Super Dodgeball on the NES was released in 1989, and there had been some other versions of the game previously. Another one that had released on arcades in 1987. And Technos really didn't believe in changing the name. It was Super Dodgeball for all of these games. So maybe it was just more of a variation of the same game. And as they got it placed on different consoles, they beefed up the graphic capabilities, etc., bigger sprites, animation, but they just kept the same name. So let's take a look at the original Nintendo Super Dodgeball version. Such an amazing game. I have this on the Nintendo and it is complete. As you can see, the cart is in really good shape. Super clean. Manual's not too bad. And as you can see from the special shots and the moveset in the manual, it's generally all the techniques that you had in the original game. The box isn't too bad for wear and it's in pretty decent shape. I definitely give this one of my favorite ratings on the Nintendo. So this is definitely within my top 10 favorite games to play on the original Nintendo. And for the Neo Geo, it's becoming one of my top 5 sports games to play, like I said before. Now, in terms of Super Dodgeball, this game is extremely fun, and the whole purpose of this game is, well, you guessed it, a dodgeball game. In this dodgeball game, you control 3 members of your dodgeball court team. Now, when you go and select in the character screen, you get a choice of 7 playable teams. There's going to be one team captain, and there's going to be 2 generic team members that you're going to have. Now, in terms of your generic teammates, as you go about beating each individual team that you go against throughout this entire game, you have the opportunity of selecting the team captain as a new team member on your team. Pretty awesome. You can choose yes or no and select that person, or you can skip them for the next team that you come across. Now, they will end up replacing your secondary team members. Your team captain that you selected at the very beginning of the game will not get swapped out, so you'll have a total of 3 team captains on one team. And with that, it's extremely important in terms of how you strategize as well with your team members. Your team captains also have 2 power shots and a super, whereas your generic team members only have 1, and then they tag team the super with the team captain. So it's kind of cool. In terms of teammate styles, there's a nerd type, which resembles a scrawny teenage boy. There's a bigger dude who's more considered the middle-aged guy. An athletic girl who's more of the teenage short volleyball uniform type girl. Delinquents, of course, they're the miscreants, if you will. And then you've got the jock type, so the sports guys. So this generally gives me a resemblance if they made a Yu Yu Hakusho dodgeball game. All right, let's open this card up and take a look at the boards. Let's see how good this conversion really is. So as I played this game, I came to a realization that this game is super fun. And when I first played it, I was unsure as to how to do the special techniques. Now, when we played the NES version growing up, all you had to do was run, dash, and as you picked up speed with your character, the power shot would then come. You would have some kind of crazy super slash dodgeball technique that would run through the entire enemy opponent team, and then that would cause great damage until they got knocked off the court. In this particular case, it's a little bit different. It's a small blend of the NES original. However, they've added a fighting game nuance to this game. So for doing your power shots, you're actually utilizing fighting game controller sequences. So for one, for Kunio, if you want to do his regular power shot where he's doing basically a spinning hurricane kick, you would just throw a Hadouken. If you wanted to do his jump power spike technique, you would do a Shoryuken. And then if you wanted to do a segment for a team super, once your power gauge is full at the bottom, then all you would do is forward, back, half quarter circle forward, and that would be your technique for team super. So it's kind of cool. The animations are really bright, very impactful, and you definitely feel like you're causing some serious damage. Now, once your team members are knocked out, especially if you have multiple team captains, let's say you're going against an opposing team and they are really putting the work in terms of knocking your team members out. Once they're knocked out, you can actually pass the dodgeball to them and you can still perform special techniques. And also, if you're the last person standing on the volleyball court, you can still trigger your supers if you have your power gauge all the way full. So your teammates will come from the sidelines, join you in attacking the enemy team in your supers. So it is really awesome. So don't think because the opposing team has knocked out your key members that you still can't do some serious combos and action in this game. In terms of the game itself, taking a look at this conversion, yeah, It's a conversion. I bought one. This is a time for me to kind of stop and tell you guys what my plan is. There's probably 3 games out there that I will probably find conversions for. Now, here's my reasoning behind this. It's generally because either one, it was a MVS exclusive and it didn't get a chance to be made on AES, and I would really like to play it on just the AES instead of, my consoleized MVS. Maybe I'm just goofy like that, when I could just have a particular MVS cart and then it's good to go. But aesthetically, you know how I am. I like things aesthetically pleasing on my shelf, and I also like to play them. And also, Super Dodgeball, the full MVS kit, is expensive. I've seen prices go up as high as $1,000 for this game. So from an MVS perspective, this game is really good. And considering it never got an AES release, I think I'm inclined to believe that's the reason why the price is so high on it. Now I can go and get a loose cart easy, or I can just emulate it on my MVSX or my Steam Deck if I really wanted to, but I want to play this on AES. So I just so happened to pick this up from the Neo store. Now, in terms of the insert, taking a look at it, the insert itself is fan made, and it doesn't particularly have the same color as the typical S&K dark gray background. The green is about right in terms of the color sequence for majority of sports games at the time that had the Neo Geo. If this was made for a US release style artwork, and whoever did this basically kind of got a Xerox copy and they had it put on a very glossy, a very shiny insert. But for a fan made, this is actually pretty well done. They kind of mirrored what games were looking like from a US perspective, the different pictures and the different segments that they would have on the back of the insert, the spine itself in terms of the Super Dodgeball and the Neo Geo in the top. Now, this does not come with a manual, and I've been trying to source a reproduction manual that, a couple of companies might have made, just because I would want that form of completion. Now, the box itself is in really bad shape, so I'm probably going to end up purchasing a reproduction snap case that will be more in line in making sure that this cartridge stays pretty well protected. Now, in terms of the cartridge itself, the sticker itself does not have the rounded edges that you would normally find on a legit AES English sticker or just an AES cart in general. It's got the sharp edges, and in terms of the sticker itself, there seems to be a crease that's running all the way down the middle of this cartridge. And in terms of that, the boards themselves are all AES. They're not repro boards or anything like that. They are all authentic S&K boards. Yeah, so taking a look at it, cartridge itself has seen some better days. It needs a little bit of cleaning, and the cartridge plays good. I haven't had any issues with it. I've actually put in quite a few hours in this game since I've gotten it, so it's in really good shape. So in terms of pricing for this game, again, like I said, this particular game is not an AES release. I happen to pay a little bit over $380 for this conversion, and I'm probably going to invest in a better case and probably more of a high production insert if I can find one down the road. So after it's all said and done, insert's probably going to be like 20 or 30 bucks if I can find a really good one, and then the snap case is probably going to be 40 bucks. So I'll be all in grand total once I have a better condition insert, case, and maybe even a reproduction manual that's fan made as well. Probably a little bit over 400 bucks for this game. Is that expensive for a conversion? Yes and no. It's right around what the market would be, just depending on. Now, there are some really bad conversions and there's some really decent ones. Now, I will say this. There is a difference between a bootleg and a conversion. So here's what we're talking about. This Super Dodgeball we've opened up, it is a conversion. Basically what happened is someone took chips from the MVS Dodgeball and they sacrificed that cartridge. And then they took a AES cartridge, this is probably a Samurai Showdown of some kind, and they sacrificed the chips in that game. They soldered the MVS chips that were in this Super Dodgeball cartridge and placed them on this Samurai Showdown cart. And then they soldered them on to this board. And now you have a, guess what? A Super Dodgeball AES cartridge. Now, if we're talking about a bootleg, generally that means that the PCBs or the AES boards that are used inside the cartridge are completely fake. They're going to have EEPROM chips, or better known as rewritable chips. So basically all they would do is download the ROMs on to that chip, and then those are rewritable. So you can erase them, you can put new games on them, all that kind of stuff. And then the boards themselves wouldn't be authentic SNK boards. They would be half the size of the board that you may have here, or even the cartridge itself may not be real SNK in Japan. It may be just some off-brand fake plastic cartridge that's used for some of the games that you may see in some of the third-party homebrew games that you see today. Another thing being, this case itself is also not an authentic SNK case. This one's seen some better days, and it doesn't really fit in terms of some of the plastic protectors that I've put it in. So that have you. If you really want to play this game, there's a couple of ways. If you have a consoleized MVS, I definitely recommend playing it on that. However, if you're wanting a full kit, be prepared to drop a good chunk of money on this game. If you're not in for the whole kit and you just want the cart, you may get lucky and you're going to have to drop a couple of $100 for a decent copy of Super Dodgeball. Mind you, remember, this game only came out on MVS, so prices for this one are going to be a little bit higher than what you would find for your more standard copies of, you know, Metal Slug 2s, 3s, 4s, your King of Fighters, where those will be running anywhere in the realm of $50 to $150 depending on condition. This one's going to be a little bit higher, so take that to mind. So, what do I give this game in terms of its rating? Well,
dearest friends, what is your selection? Which Super Dodgeball is your favorite? The AES version or the Nintendo Entertainment System version? Both made by the same company, but you can see the very depth of the sprite capabilities and the graphical power of the Neo Geo. I, Tiberius, co-host, give Super Dodgeball the rating of 4.5. That's right. I find this game quite enjoyable. The grit impact, the secret techniques, the moves. It's like a hefty blend of the original Super Dodgeball and a fighting game. I find it most enjoyable, and so many of you will too.
well, you know what? This is going to be another time that Tiberius and I tie again for our rating, because I'm giving Super Dodgeball a 4.5. That's right. I highly recommend this game. This game is great. This game has a lot of replay value in it. I definitely see myself playing this game a couple of times a month. I played the NES version quite a lot growing up as a kid, and I see myself playing this game a lot more just because it's got the added bonus with the kind of fighting game style dodgeball that I think is really cool. So in terms of where can you play this game today? Are there other versions? Have you seen other ones? Well, there's of course the PC ports that were found back in 2003. There's a Game Boy Advance version out there of Super Dodgeball, which is more the NES based one. We had a release version, the Nintendo 3DS, the Wii U Virtual Console had it. So Super Dodgeball has been around, and there is that, which is pretty cool. If you haven't had a chance to play any of the modern, more Super Dodgeball games, I believe River City Dodgeball can be found on Game Pass. I'm not quite sure. I do remember there being a dodgeball game on Game Pass that I played a few years back. If you haven't played a dodgeball game more recently, try checking it out on that. But I would definitely love to see a remastered, re-release version, kind of like how Pix and Love does with the King of Fighters. I would absolutely love to see a Neo Geo AES third-party remake of Super Dodgeball. This is one of those sports games that needs the love because this is a super fun game. So, have you played Super Dodgeball? Have you played the NES Super Dodgeball? Drop comments down below and let me know. And as always, collect and play the way that you want to collect and play your games. Tiberius, take us out of here.
Dearest friends, we commend you for attending our glorious series Mission Neo Geo once again this week. I bid you good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you. And for next week's episode, we have a special episode for the holiday season. And with that, this will be the first time that I will announce next week's video. We'll be playing Metal Slug. Now, which one will I be playing? Well, you'll have to tune in till next time because it is to be continued. See you again.